Hi, prudent business leaders. The topic of this video is all of the 7 ways how you can create a website for your small company. The first thing prospects do when they hear about a new company is they usually go and check out their website. Having a good, well-designed website for a company is a very important thing these days. Now, if you're planning to redesign a website or if you're just about to create one, I think you should be aware of all the 7 ways how you can do that. So without any further ado, let's go straight to those 7 ways. What I'm going to do is I'm going to state all of the 7 ways how you can do that. Then I'm going to explain each and every one of them. I'm going to talk about pros and cons, and then I'm going to give some examples. Okay, so here's a list of all the 7 ways how you can create a website for your small business. First is a free DIY open source software. The second is free DIY online web builder. Third is a subscription-based website builder. Fourth is a low-cost, fixed-price, template-based website. The 5th way you can build a website is to have a custom-made website. The 6th way is to do it in-house with your own employees. And the 7th is to have an AI built website. Now let's talk about the first one, the open source software. This is a free DIY option. The way it works is that you download all of the files of the open source software, and then you install them onto your server, and then you make some changes to the content. The examples are WordPress, Drupal, Joomla, Magento, and there's a bunch of other options out there. WordPress being the most popular one. I think that about 20 to 30% of websites are powered by WordPress. So, that's a huge number. And the benefit of the WordPress, for instance, is that it's a content management system. It's easier for you to create web pages and do some tweaks and add photos and stuff like that. So it's a solid option. Now, about other pros of open source. The main one is that you have all of the files in your possession. So first of all, you have most of the control, right? So you can control everything since you have all of the files of the actual website that you're going to have. Second, with the popular content management systems like WordPress, for instance, there's a lot of web designers and web developers who are familiar with this system. And so basically you have a big pool of candidates who can do the job for you. And this is really good for your business because you have options. Since you have all the files, the functionality of your website are basically limited to the skills of the web developer. So the more experienced the web developer you hire, the better your website is going to be. Now, some of the cons of the free DIY open source software. First of all, since it's open source software, that means that everyone knows how the files are structured, and that's a potential risk. Shrewd folks, well, it will be a lot easier for them to exploit if they're targeting your website. So that's first. Second, there's a lot of plugins out there, which is a benefit on one hand. But on the other hand, it's a potential risk because these plugins are third-party plugins and you have no control over who made it, what was their intent, why they're free, how they're going to affect your website's performance. So that's another problem. And the third problem, or I should rather say a third issue with open source software, is that it will regularly require updates. There's a high probability that your website is going to have a bunch of plugins. There might be some conflicts between dependencies. So the plugins might not be in agreement with either one another or with the system that you are going to upgrade and update. So that's another issue that you should be aware of. Now, the second one, online web builders like Weebly or Wix. These are also called drag and drop website builders. Now, the benefit of having this system is that you don't need to learn how to code. You can just drag and drop things. Now, the benefit of online web builders is that you don't need to know the code. You don't need to know how to code. You just drag and drop stuff, like where to put the text, where to put images. And some of these systems work better than others. But the main benefit is that you don't have to have the skills of a web developer. And if you hire a good web designer who can't code, but who knows a thing or two about visual hierarchy and design, they'd be able to create a solid website for you. There are a few cons for this option. First one is that the functionality is usually very limited, so you can't do whatever you want to do. And the reason being is that you don't have access to all of the files. You don't have access to the actual code. The second issue is that the learning curve is rather steep. The third issue is that you're going to be stuck with this system. So if in the future you would decide that you need a website on a different system, you will have to create everything from scratch. You will not be able to just export the files and use them on a different server, using a different platform, a system. So it's just not an option. So the third way how to build a website is to use a subscription-based online website builder. The examples are Shopify, Squarespace, and Webflow. These are really good options for you if you're okay with paying monthly for using those platforms. They provide a decent functionality, and you would have access to many ways how you can customize your website. The only thing that you're not going to have is you're not going to have access to all of the files, meaning that you will have a certain limitations on what you can do with your website. Most of the things design-wise, so how the things are going to look and how the user interface, the user experience, those sort of things, you will be able to tweak and change and customize for your liking. You also won't have any problems with updates and upgrades, because these systems will do this for you without even letting you know that this has to be done. So that's sort of a benefit for you as well. And they generally have good tutorials and documentation. So that's really helpful as well. The downside is that you will have to pay monthly fees, even if your business is not making any money. And let's say if your business is going through rough times, you would still have to pay for using this platform. Whereas with the open source system, you would just stop paying your web developer, web designer, and then you would resume afterwards when things get better. With the option of subscription-based websites, you will have to pay monthly. Otherwise, your website is just going to be gone in a few months. There are also some limitations on the ability to tweak things. So when you, let's say, install a bunch of plugins or third-party plugins to your website, they might create a conflict in between one another. And since you will not be able to access the web developer will not be able to access all of the files, they will not be able to make necessary changes if changes need to be made. So the fourth way how you can build a website for your company is to have a low-cost template-based website. Now, basically, these are either WordPress websites or Shopify websites, or any of those that I've just mentioned in those three options. But they're based on templates. So the developers or web designers or agencies who are going to offer you a low-cost website, let's say for $200, $300, $400, $500, they're going to sell you a template that's been used on thousands of websites. So you will not have a unique website, obviously, because no one's going to design it for you. No one's going to think and do any sort of research. No one's going to compare your website with your competition, and no one's going to research your target audience, stuff like that. So you will just have a template. If that's fine with you, this is a good option, because you would have a working website for a fixed fee. So you know in advance what you're going to pay and what you're going to get. My advice would be you should ask a lot of questions to these guys, like what is it that I'm getting for the money that I'm paying, and how is it different from those other templates that are being offered for less or for more. Now, the cheaper the offer, the more riskier it is, because you will get a template website and there might be a lot of malicious code in it. Like, for instance, they might have a code that would download your database with the contacts, with leads that you're going to create, things like that. Or they might be sending emails on your behalf, which is also not good. So this is just an example what sort of a malicious code can be installed in those cheap websites. Another thing is that, watch out for those ads that promise a unique website for, let's say, $250, $300, $400. You will not have a unique website for that amount of money. That's just not an option. It's never going to happen. These guys that are paying for those ads are spending somewhere around $100 on those ads just to get a client. Those companies that are advertising are probably paying around $100 in those ad money to get a client. And so if they're charging you $250 for a unique website, and they've also paid $100 for ads just to get you as a client, so now they're left with $150. They still need to pay someone to do the job. So maybe they outsource it to India or Pakistan or somewhere else, but they still need to make some profit, right? So at the end of the day, it's just not real, to have a unique website for $100. It's just not possible. For that amount of money, you will always get a template, and not a good one for that matter. Now, the fifth option is custom websites. This is the best option, but it's one of the most expensive ones. Now, the benefits are, depending on how it's going to be built, what platform is going to be used, you will have different results. But when you're creating a custom-made website, you will probably have someone to talk to about your business objectives. So what are you planning to do, how your website is going to help your business grow, and stuff like that. Based on that discovery conversation, the web developer will be able to suggest which platform to use, like which framework to use. So the benefit is that you will have full control, you will have no limits, you will get the most value for the money. You will receive a unique solution tailored to your business needs. On the downside, this is the most expensive one. So it is going to take more time, and it's going to cost your business more money. But again, it's going to provide you the best results. The sixth option that you have is to build a website in-house. So how does it work? You hire a web designer and a web developer, and you assign them a job. Like, okay, guys, there you go. We need a website. Go ahead and create one. The benefits are, so you will have the full control. The downside is that, well, now you need to hire two people. So now your business is going to have, or your HR is going to have a bunch of problems with that. Depending on how skillful and experienced your hired employees are, that will have the result on the end project, which is your website. The final option is AI-built website. Now, there is a bunch of companies that offer that sort of service. And the idea is that you just put some information in, and in a few minutes, you're going to have your website. Now, in my experience, this is not a very good option. And there are many reasons. You can read more about this on my website, and I'll provide a link to the article in the description. Well, the benefits are it's a fast turnaround. The other unexpected benefit is that you will have less options, so less trouble for you. You just, put in some information and there you go, you have your website. There's nothing to choose, there's nothing to think about. The downside is huge. The results are unpredictable. And then you also have to think about the business model of those people who are advertising those AI websites. So how they're going to make money. They might give you something for free, but in the end of the day, they still have to make money. So either they're going to be charging you for like additional essential functionality that's being hidden behind a paywall, or they're going to charge you more, like double or triple the price for hosting, let's say. So you just have to keep that in mind. So a few examples. If you're a bootstrapped startup, not a lot of money, I suggest you invest as little as possible in your website, because you need to have clients first. From there, you can invest more money into building something meaningful. If you're a company that has been around for a while and you have budgets, I suggest you create a website based on open source software or a framework such as Laravel. If your business has an e-commerce side to it, Shopify is a good option for you. I prefer working with Laravel framework because it gives you the maximum control of what you can do, and there are basically no limits. So, but then again, that depends on the budget that clients have and also the business objectives. So this video was about the 7 ways you can create a website for your small business. If you like this video, please put a like. I'd really appreciate if you subscribe, because that would hint me that this sort of content is useful, helpful, and that will encourage me to create more videos like this. So thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.